Friends, what do you do when life gives you some plaid lemons? Hi friends, Tracy here from the Sewing Channel. Welcome back. Make a really big leaf, but the leaf is going to have some color changes in it. Quilts like this, they have such a visual effect. When you look at it, it's like, oh, what's that doing? There are so many variations of color play when it comes to a leaf during that seasonal change. The hardest part for me was coming up with which way I wanted to shade this. Enough talking already. Let's get busy making a fall quilt with only squares. Now, if you want to make this quilt, I'm just going to share with you how I made it, and at the end I will give you approximately how many blocks of each color shade that I used in this quilt. First things first, I used scraps. I do have a bag of fall scraps that I keep hidden. So I grabbed that, and then I decided which colors I was going to choose from this bag. I decided that I wanted to shade from the outer and go in. And when I looked this up on the internet, it said that the green actually stays in the center and up the stems due to the chlorophyll. So I kind of wanted to work from middle outward or outward in. So that's the way I did it, but you can shade it any way you want. I did put my plan down on graph paper. Then I ended up changing the bottom because I thought that this went in too much here. So I ended up like cutting it a little bit and figuring that out what the dimensions were. And I'll give you all that. But you can see here how it starts darker and then it goes inward. Friends, all I did was follow the color wheel inward where it concerned like fall leafy colors. I started with a darker color, almost like a burnt burgundy, or even in some cases I had some violet colors. And then I went to a even like reddish burgundy type color. And then it went into some red colors, some red orange colors, and then some actual orange. Browns and oranges were kind of mixed in there together. That's just how I see it on the color wheel. And then it went to yellow and then to some greens and some darker greens. So friends, that's all I did was follow our color wheel. Everyone should have one of these. If you don't, I will link it below. First off, if you're new here and you don't know about this quilt design wall, I'll link it at the end. Now, if you don't have a wall, you can also use a floor somewhere where you can tape things off. And you can even use this on carpet too, if you want to tape your perimeters. Y'all know I love perimeters. Perimeters are good. It keeps us honed in on what we need to be doing. Just regular painter's tape, and I already know that I want a big 9 patch going on here, which is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 big blocks. Each one of my blocks is approximately 21.5 inches square. Now I think we're going to add some borders on this too, but I don't know yet because I have not finished this quilt at all. Here's this area down here that I told you about where I kind of cut it in half. We are going to put some background here and give it that look here. And I'm thinking we're going to do like an improv curve for the stem. So stay with me. For reference, all of our squares are going to be 3.5 inches square within this 21-inch square. For the angles, all you're going to do is cut a 4-inch square, which is just a 1/2 inch bigger than this. And we're going to cut it on the diagonal, giving us 2 triangles. But you'll have 2 so you can spread them out throughout the quilt so you don't have to waste any. The first thing I did was outline the entire leaf. So I kind of worked this out already. So I grabbed all of my darker pieces first, the ones that are going to be all on the outside of this quilt. Also put a strip of tape within that perimeter of where the color was going to go as opposed to where the background color was going to go. This is all background right here, to keep that in mind. And then I kind of did overlap in seam allowances here. And I just, like, you know, back in grade school when we outlined coloring pictures and colored in them, I don't know. That's how I always did. I always outlined it and then colored the picture. Did you? How did you color? I always thought the picture looked better when I outlined it. I don't know why. So this is going to be that border, so to speak, of the dark color. That's gonna make our eye go from dark and inward. I felt like it was much easier to work from the outer and then work my way in to the center of the leaf. So it's up to you, however you see it. And to help myself keep on track, there's always going to be 7 going up and of course 7 going across, and there's also 7 triangles in the center here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that's what helped keep me on track, because with all these blocks up here in colors, it's really easy, even with the perimeter, to mess it up. So keep that in mind. So we have background fabric here and we have background fabric here. So with this cut in half, we're gonna make it in the end like a half square triangle. It'll be real easy. So again, I'm just outlining the colored part of the blocks. I really wanted to make sure that it was a nice deep color around this leaf because I really wanted to give it that contrast. The more contrast color you have from the edge to the center, the better. I even went with a deep red here, and then right next to it is a deep purple. Because you know, when leaves are changing, it could be like any shade, right? Continue all the way around. Once you get it all up here too, you can play around with it. I know I'm fussing with it right now, but I need to listen to myself, right? So these 2 rows I've already sewn together. And you can see here, even though I had this 21-inch square perimeter here, once you sew it, it does go down. Just imagine that I have the perimeter around this entire leaf. So it has the shape of the leaf. The next thing I'm going to do is think of the next color that's going to come inward. I have my burgundies and I have my red, and if I look over here on the color wheel, it looks like I go from red into orange and then some browns. Since this is a darker brown and it's my quilt, I'm gonna put this brown right there, and then I'm going to continue with a red and then another dark and then this burgundy type color here. So my method here was to come inward, but as I did that, incorporate 1 or 2 of the outer colors or the last color that I did on the outer portion to pop a couple of those colors in here. That's the reason I put the violet coming inward here. And then here's a red and a darker color here in the brown. So I went from that dark color to some lighters, but yet I incorporated some from the outer edge. I don't know, I hope that makes sense. So wow, that's a big change, right? Because I'm going to be bringing in some lighter colors here to give it like that pixelated kind of look too. And ooh, look, there's a yellow, that's new. And then I'm gonna put in this browny orangey color. Here's a brown, and ooh, there's some orange right there, friend. And then there's that one. And remember, it's not set in stone. We can change this at any point. And ooh, I'm gonna pop a little brighter one right there. And let's finish that one off. Friends, I used all kind of prints too. Look at this sunflower. I mean, it just really didn't matter. If it had that color in it and it had that vibe, I was going for it. Now I did do these ahead, these 2, because I had to work some of it out, friends. I couldn't just go cold in here. Because of my measurements, you know, I had to get those angles and everything just right for you. So that one is already sewn up in the triangle. And here's this one all sewn up in the triangle already. So I hope you can see how it's coming together so far. I mean, that looks pretty good. I love it. except I think these two are parallel from each other, and I'm not sure that I like that. So maybe I'll take and go like this. See that? Those are the little tweaks and changes that you can make within the quilt. So let's work on filling this one in down here. And here we're going to put a pop of yellow and then some orange. Those two are sewn together already. But see, that's the good thing about scraps. Sometimes they're already sewn together. Now here is the first incorporation of the green, and this is a really dark green, so it's going to be hard to tell the difference, but it's going to work well with this pattern. And then we'll add a little brown one there. And it's important to note too, this row of this block right here, it needs to blend well with that one that's coming in. I think I got too much orange going on down here for sure. My word. There's a pop of green. Let's do that yellow and sunflower again. Another pop of green right there. Well, let's bring in, let's put it over here. I don't know. I think I'm going to put, see, I'm fussing now. There, that looks better. This is where you're going to start to see a lot of that green and yellow coming in too. I mean, that's how I designed it, but you can do it however. Even a print like this works. It's got greens and browns and oranges. And so then there's that block, and stand back and see how it all looks. So let's work on this block and work from this edge inward. Now remember, we need to make sure that these two rows mesh well together. There's the dark green again coming in. I threw in a darker orange here as it's coming into the yellow. Whoop, there's some green. Whoop, there's some green. Green. That's a dark one too. How's it looking from your angle, friends? I even went with some yellow polka dot. I mean, it really doesn't even matter. It's like anything goes. So I went ahead and did the border around this area right here. I'm going to speak more to this here in a little bit, so you'll understand all of it, trust me. Let's work on the center. The brown goes there. Then we're going to work our way into that. Pop a yellow, orange. Just be mindful of this row and this row. You don't want to put two fabrics that are the same next to each other, right, friends? I'm going to go with that one there. Come in with a little deeper one. Pop a green there. You can see here I'm starting to get more concentrated green as I go toward the center, which might be too much. I don't know yet. I threw in a batik there. Okay, then stand back and see what you have. I even squint my eyes, friends, just to see if everything is good to go. I even take a picture and make the picture real small on my phone and then look and see if anything pops out specifically or anything that doesn't belong, or, you know. It's a really good time now to change it so that way you don't have to unpick later if you don't like something. Maybe I could move this to here and then that to there. Maybe move this one over here because it is toward that area. I don't know. I go there, 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 there. Does that look better? Stand back and squint your eyes. Yeah, I don't know. I think it looks good. Before we can go any further on this block right here, we need to add in this background triangle right here. This is the background fabric that I've picked out. It's light enough with some darker greens and a little bit of brown in it, with a light tan background behind all of the stripies, that I think it will contrast really nice with this. Now, the only problem with what I've chose for the background is there are lines here. Lines and plaid and all that, they need to be matched up. So hopefully I have enough fabric so I can match up some lines here. We'll see though. So what I need for this area is a 12.5-inch square piece of background fabric. Once you have your square cut, then you're going to fold this in half and make a memory crease. Or if you don't want to put a memory crease, you can just go corner to corner, because that's all it is. Just a corner to corner cut. Sometimes I do like to put the creases in just to make sure that I have a square cut. It's kind of like insurance, so to speak. Then you're just going to slice diagonal there. So take this triangle and just set it here for a minute. So the square that you needed to cut was 9 3/4 inches square, not 12.5. I don't know where I got that from, but yeah, no, that ain't right. So 9 3/4 inches square, and then cut on the diagonal. The next thing I'm going to do is put half of our stem in. I'm going to do the other half when we go to put the half square triangle on this. And my choices, I think, were between these two. I mean, I could get real fancy and do some polka dots or something, but I don't think I want to. I'm thinking to go with the lighter brown instead of the darker. I don't know. Yeah, I think the lighter. And plus it has the shading effect. That'll give us some really good movement. So the first thing I'm going to do is go from the point of this triangle and cut right down the center. And to find the center, I'm going to fold it in half to the point of the triangle, and I'm going to memory crease that. And then I'm going to flip it open, and then from the center bottom to the tip top, I'm going to go ahead and slice that. Set that just like that. All I need is a 1-inch strip set here. So we have that piece that we sliced. Now I'm going to go in with this strip, and I'm going to come up a little bit here so I have some, you know, end pieces there to work with, and then I'm just going to trim down here so that I have some end pieces to work with. It's always good to have a little bit hanging out because you never know how much, you know, is going to be taken up. So I'm going to flip to one side, and then I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam. I'm going to finger press this toward that brown piece. Okay, press that out. Now I just need to make sure that these two line up. And I can do that by making sure that that bottom is perfectly flush. That's going to line up because that's a straight, you know, line there. It's a straight cut, so we're good. Now, I don't know if this is going to work out yet, friends, so you're along with the journey. So you should have something that looks like that. So you can square up the top. Yeah, the top. So just bring in your ruler and just square that top up with the line coming, you know, diagonal up into that tip, so that's straight. But I want you to wait on the rest. So we're going to set this right in there because that is where that's going to go, friends. And then my plan is to have that half square triangle here and connect it and match it up to here and extend that stem into a curve. The jury's still out. Now I know it seems skinny though, doesn't it? But as long as we keep it 1 inch strip, we don't have to worry about any other measurements because it's going to eat up the seam allowance. After you cut it, it's going to be the same identical block when you're done. But you know, stems are skinny. Come on now. Let's sew these two, these two, these two, these two, and see where we're at as opposed to connecting it to there. Am I missing one? 3, 4, 5. I am. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. I'm missing. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm missing one, friends. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm missing one in this row. I was like, yeah, that don't line up, does it? Because this one is 6 down because it, you know, comes up a level here. But this one is 7, so I'm missing one. Let me find one here. Maybe that right there. Yeah, that looks good. See how quickly that can happen? I don't know. Okay, when you go to add these triangles on, you're going to just add the corners on because we're going to trim up that angle. I'll show you exactly how to do it here in a minute. And then you have that, and we're going to just add that to the bottom. You will have some excess here that you're going to need to trim off of these triangles. Whatever's sticking out, just trim it. This is what we have right there. Now, if my calculations were correct, when I finish this row up here, that should all connect together. Like I'll connect this to this one and then this to this one. And then I'll show you how to trim off that edge. So let me turn my camera off. I'll just sew those. I don't want to bore you. And then we'll see what we have. Oh, I didn't sew that row together. Gee whiz. Come on now. Okay, let me sew this row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, we got enough blocks. We're good there. Now what I'm going to do is take this and flip this and match those up. And sew down the side and pray that I made the right numbers because I don't know. I'm terrible when it comes to quilt math, for real. That's why I kind of do everything improv because I don't know how to do math. You can always find the back door when you don't know how to do something, right? If you have a will to do it anyways. I think that's just human nature. And then you're going to flip it over and then press that. Let's line that up just to see. Oh yeah, I think it's going to be good. I think that measurement is right, friends. Okay, now we're going to flip this like that, and we're going to sew along that edge. Okay, let's set this like so. Next thing, this is very important, and you're going to do this on the other half square triangles as well before you attach the background fabric from these points right here. So this is the line right here where we made where you know this is going to connect to the background fabric. Where you see these triangles right here. Now this one's a little shy, but I think I'm going to be able to fudge that. But where you see this, we don't want to cut off those points. So what I want you to do is get your ruler out, and I want you to measure 1/4 inch from those corners, those points, and then I want you to trim that excess off. So you're going from the squares point 1/4 inch and then trimming off all of the excess. And that should give us a perfect half of what we need anyways. I don't know. So I'm taking and I'm measuring with my ruler 1/4 inch from the squares point, and then I'm going to cut off the excess. So I want 1/4 inch, And boy, that leaves me just perfect. So maybe you might want to, I don't know, make it a little bit bigger. I don't know. I think it's good though. And cut off that little tail. And you can see there, I barely cut off any, really. But if you cut too far in, then you're going to cut those points off and, you know, it won't look right. So here I'm just lining up a 1/4 inch away from those. I mean, not much at all, friends. And so there we have this area, but it's not done yet. So let's go ahead and pop this little guy in here. So this is how I made the half square triangle part of the background. And this is going to be the same with all of these half square triangles. So when you're dealing with yardage, you have from salvage to salvage, you have about 44 inches. So I want you to clean up an edge, cut 22 inches down from that edge that you just made straight. And then I want you to take that from salvage to salvage 22 inches down, and I want you to slice that right in half. That will give you 2 squares at 22 inches square. And that's what this is right here. And then you fold it in half, but here's my thing. I have to line these up so that they're straight, so that it coincides with that one. And plus I gotta put a stem on this. So I'll show you again when I get to that, but let's see here. So when I go in here, I am looking at, this needs to be flipped like this. It's a good way to waste fabric too, right? I need to line this up where the lines were. Okay, friends, this is what I had to do here. I had to grab some yardage because I couldn't match it up, so whatever. So I grabbed out the yardage, I laid it down, I laid this piece over it, just like that. And then I pinned these edges. Now I'm really hoping that when they go together, that it's still gonna match up, you know, I don't know, maybe, maybe not. I still want to put the stem, making it longer. So in this demonstration, I totally messed up and I matched the raw edges of the fabric and not the folded creased part that actually gets sewn together. So that's what happened. I end up telling you how I ended up fixing it here in the end. So stick with me, friends. I'm going to show you first though how to do that stem. Now I'm going to fold this in half and find the center. Crease that real good. Open it up. Should we do the curve? Dare I do a curve right now? I don't know. It's getting kind of giddy up here in my sewing room. Yeah, I think we're gonna, because you know what? We're gonna do it. Okay. So the biggest thing that you have to remember, this is that stupid purple marker that goes away. So I'm gonna mark the very center here, because that mark I need to keep for that right there, for sure. We ain't gonna do no big, huge curve. We're just gonna do a slight curve. But which way do we wanna do it? Because it goes in this way, and it's laying like that. I think if I just veer off just a little bit, right? I think that's gonna be good. So we're gonna go boom, right? Curves are easy. I mean, slight curves. Big curves are hard, but slight curves you're going to be fine with. I'm going to go like this and just veer it. But it's going to be slight, friends. But I'm going to start over here, because I think I will have more control starting here at the center. Because remember, we got to match that up. So I'll go boom. And right to there. All right, just do it right. What's the worst that can happen? Redo it. Boom, we did it. Ah! Okay, now I need a 1-inch strip of that brown fabric. It's right here. We want to make sure that we cut this from salvage to salvage, not up and down the grain line, because you will have no give at that point. You want it to have some flexibility. You know how like a jelly roll is kind of shifty? that's the same concept here. And they cut that from salvage to salvage. So you want to make sure that you cut it this way. I think, let me see if I have. You don't even have to curve it, honestly. You don't. Or maybe I should. I don't know. No, I don't think I'll have to, because I'll bend it. I'll bend it how I want it to go. I'm thinking, let me see, I think that will be enough right there. All right, I don't have to clean off another edge. But it's always going to be 1 inch, friends, always. Because 1 inch will give you the same measurement in blockwise in the end, so you don't have to like redo anything. It won't get wider, it won't get skinnier, it'll just be it. See, we can bend it. I don't want to bend it just yet because I want to get it right. Let's see, I think, what do? We put it on this side first? I forget. I'm going to line it up with some hanging off on both sides. And then I'm going to pin it. Okay, so we have this all pinned along there. 1/4 inch seam allowance. Just go slow. I tend to use a scant 1/4 inch too, if anybody's wondering. Just I ain't got time to look at a line, so I just use my presser foot as a guide. I press the seam away from the strip itself. Now we're going to grab this piece right here. Just make sure that this is lined up perfectly. Oh, and this one has an edge too, so I guess we don't have to find the middle. Or maybe we should. I don't know. And hopefully I allotted for some give and cut off on this. I think I did when I first sat down and figured the pattern out for this. That 21 was going to be a little bit over, or or 22 cut or whatever. But this one we cut identical to that. So there's no telling now. Who knows? Are you anxious to see if this is going to work? Me too. Okay, looks good. Now we're going to do the same thing and press this outward. Oh my word, friends, looky there. So I only tell you to press outward because that's where it wanted to go, the seam. And whichever way my seams tend to want to go, I press them that way because I don't have time to think about it. I really don't. Okay, so I'm going to come along here and cut off that straight line that's going to be connected to here. And this is where the rubber meets the road, friends. We're going to find out if this worked or not. It's the first time I've ever done this too, by the way. There's a first for everything. Oh yeah, I like it already. Okay. So we line that up. Oh my goodness, we're a little off. Or maybe once I get the seam allowance in there, we'll be okay. But we want to make sure now that the stem stays together because that we'll be able to tell. And because we pressed inward on this stem and this one's outward, we're not going to have any bulk in here. Okay, friends, let's see. Okay, not too bad, but we are off. We are off a little bit. We're off quite a bit. Wow. Oh, I see, because it probably grabbed a 1/4 from that, but I'm not going to redo it. I'm not. Let me press it. I should have shifted this fabric a little bit to match up. Usually I do that too. I don't know why I didn't. I even said it, didn't I, earlier? Like I should have even, why didn't I do that? Maybe I will unpick it. I don't know. Because I should have maybe folded the seam allowances down, pressed them, then butted them up together, that would have given me a way better result than this. So I don't know. That is the way that I did it. I might unpick it. You'll know by the end if I did, because I don't like that did that. I wasn't thinking. I ain't gonna blame it on nothing, but I should have done it. Okay. When I stand back and look at it, it's a hot mess. Okay, friends, I ended up fixing that. I turned off the camera after I talked to you last, and I went ahead and I just fixed it because there was no way I was going to leave that like that. Like, I know better, right? What I needed to do was put the folds where the seam allowance would be in the end result of the quilt, butt those up together, figure that out, you know, where things were going to line up, and then account for that seam allowance, and then cut the seam at the seam allowance, not on the cut line. I know better. But anyways, yeah. Anyways, it's fixed. It's not that great. It's not perfect, but way better than what I had in the last take. So that's how you fix that. And now moving on. That like took half the afternoon, so okay. I'll not be getting plaid anytime soon where I gotta meet up seams though. I can assure you of that, friends. I like the outcome, I guess, but I don't know. I don't really work with plaids all that much, but yeah, I know you gotta match them, so. And I don't think I'm gonna have to match around anywhere else, so that's good. My next step is to sew these all together in their individual blocks. And when I get that done, I'll turn my camera back on and I'll show you how we make some really big half square triangles. Okay, friends, it's another day the Lord gave us to get it right. So I did take my morning and make these half square triangles here and that one over there. So we're gonna work on this last half square triangle right here. You're gonna do the same thing that I told you earlier. You're gonna take a 22-inch square piece off of your yardage, and then you're going to slice it in half on the diagonal, and then you're just going to take and put right sides together, and then you're going to pin this. And since I have a salvage right here that I need to be mindful of, I'm going to not find the middle on that plaid. I'm going to pop some pins in. We are finishing this quilt today, friends. Well, we're finishing the quilt top for sure. You know, the quilt might be another day because I don't want to make this video so long that you all get so bored and that you leave me, right? I don't want you to leave me. I am sitting down today. Yeah, you all, I was wore out yesterday for sure. Okay, so I'm going to line up and put that 1/4 inch seam allowance in here. It's important to note too that I did on that triangle side, I cut and left a 1/4 inch seam allowance after those squares, like I told you in the last take. So you want to make sure you do that. Otherwise, your blocks won't look right and it won't square up in the end. The next thing I did was just press them to that plaid side because, you know, there's a bunch of seam allowances on this side. You'll have a bunch of bulk if you don't. This would go right up there. But first, we need to trim this so that it fits in there nicely. So what I figured out, these are my measurements. So I'm praying that it all works out in the end. But it's going to be 21 1/4 inches square that you need to trim this to. Now, I don't have that size of a ruler, so I'm going to pop a video in here, or a picture, I forget which one I did, but on how I squared this up. What I did was take some of the blue tape, the painter's tape, and put it exactly on my cutting mat how I needed to cut this at 21 1/4 inches square. So that way everything just worked out in the end, and I made sure that I lined up this as a for sure measurement first. So, you know, because this, you really shouldn't be trimming off any on this. Otherwise, your blocks aren't going to line up. This is the real size of this block on this particular corner. So you're really mainly just trimming this side. I hope that makes sense. And I sewed this big 9 patch together, 3, 3, and 3. Friends, I really wanted to have this same fabric as a tiny bit of a border around this leaf. I really didn't want these points right here to get lost within the quilt, like when I put a border on, because I'm putting a border on. So if I was to take this background fabric and put it around this leaf, it's a no-go for me. Friends, what do you do when life gives you some plaid lemons? Nothing else to do but make some 45-degree on-point angles. And that's what I did, friends. So I made 3-inch strips to go around this quilt. And I really do think it works, because you're not going to be able to tell that it's not matching. It's not even going in the same direction. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Check this out. So I already added a bunch of these together, and they're all 45-degree angle cut, sort of on the bias is what it is. And then when you put this together like that, you won't get lost at the fact that this doesn't match to this or this doesn't match here. It just kind of all works. I went ahead and I put the bottom on here, and you can take a look there. Looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and put this 3-inch border around here, and then we're going to put another border over top of that. It's going to be one big, cozy, comfy square quilt in the end. If you want to make this exact quilt or something close to it, screenshot the puzzle pieces. Okay, friends, are you ready for the final reveal? All the borders are on in 3, 2, 1. I ended up putting a 4-inch rustic orange border all around, and the entire quilt top ends up being about 74.5 inches square all the way around, approximately, friends. Are you loving this content? Look at your screen right now. I've handpicked special videos just for you. Until next time on the Sewing Channel, take care.